this closure is happening now so that crews can pull this water main pipe under the intercoastal waterway. Michael, Aisha, good morning. Yeah, some fans have already gotten here, including Raven's sister, Tanzania, and her mother, Clarissa. They are so excited, y'all. What does it mean to be seeing Raven compete at another Olympics?
I mean, it's crazy.
And what do you wish you could say to her right now, just minutes before her shot put competition?
Well, it's a little thing I don't know if I can say it on TV, but
yeah. This is on the frontage street next to Johnny Dodds Boulevard, where fire officials are calling 3 businesses a total loss. The Medical University of South Carolina and Roper St. Francis Healthcare both say that DHEC has increased the number of vaccines that they are now getting. So why are you out here today getting your vaccine?
I want to live. I want to live.
This is David Verhalen. And David, did you pick this site because of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine?
Well, I mean, certainly prefer the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
The protest started at 4 this afternoon, and it was peaceful as different people were talking until about 5:15 when folks started to walk down King Street. That's when police almost immediately appeared right on King Street and told them that they needed to get out of the road.
Summer Huechtker just got to the scene. Summer, a half dozen fire trucks there.
Rob, good morning. Yeah, at least a half dozen. I actually just saw another one pull in. You could probably see that behind me here. This is at the JW aluminum plant. The attorney for him, Justin Bamberg, is calling for all body camera footage to be released to the public. Now, 58-year-old Clarence Gaillard spoke publicly to the media for the first time, and he says he still has a knot on his head from the incident, and he's still experiencing pain. City of Charleston police say 2 men have been shot here at the housing complex on Bufane Street. Now, this is happening in a building, looks kind of like a home, but it's hard to tell what exactly it is just because there's so many fire trucks still around the building. But I'll go ahead and step behind the camera to give you a better look at the scene here. Now, I got here around 5:20 this morning where I saw a significant amount of smoke coming from the top of this building. Now, you can still see a little bit of smoke coming here. The Colleton County School District is moving to completely virtual learning for the next 2 weeks because of the rise in the COVID-19 Delta variant. And they also say because of the rise in the number of students and staff who are currently having to quarantine. Now, if you can't make the tournament and you still want to get some of your PGA Championship gear, he says some of those items will be online. Now, some of those items are exclusive to the tent here on Kiowa Island, but if there's some gear you still want to get, Michael, Aisha, I know you guys were looking for some hats that they were out of yesterday. Now, again, they said they're replenishing that gear every day, but maybe you can check that out online. For now, I'm live on Kiowa Island. Summer Huechtker, Live 5 News.
A man who was stabbed in downtown Charleston wants answers about who attacked him and put him in the hospital.
He and his family are looking for closure almost 2 months after the events on May 10th. Summer Huechtker sat down with the family.
I'm very depressed. It shows it shows the pain is still there.
Alan Johnson Jr. says he was walking to his car in the early morning hours of May 10th when someone reached into his pocket and robbed him. He says after that, he was attacked and stabbed multiple times. Johnson spent almost a week in the hospital, suffering from a broken jaw and 9 different stab wounds on his back, stomach, and chest.
My life wouldn't be the same. It's not. It's never will. It never will. It's just not there. It's everywhere. The one message I have to say is, you either turn yourself in, do the right thing.
Johnson and his family went to bond court for one of the men who attacked him, but Johnson believes there were multiple people who attacked him and others that morning. According to police, 3 people were stabbed and 3 others were shot.
Just come forward. You know, what if it was your child? What if it was your brother or your sister? You know, how would you feel? You'd probably want the same justice that my son and I are looking for, and probably even the other victims, the same justice they're looking for, a peace of mind and knowing that these perpetrators are really off the street.
Charleston police say this investigation is ongoing, and if any new information is found, they will notify the families involved. CPD spokesperson Charles Francis said in a statement, if anybody has any additional information in reference to the incident, they can contact the Central Investigation Division of CPD by calling 843-743-7200. As for Jenkins and her son, they won't stop looking for answers either. In Charleston, Summer Huechtker, Live 5 News.
Many of you have probably moved from one state to another at some point, and you may have hired a moving company to help take your belongings across state lines.
But what do you do if you show up at your new home and your movers and all your stuff nowhere to be found? Several people told Live 5 Investigates that that's exactly what happened to them. As Summer Huechtker reports, the feds are now getting involved.
So I was, contacted by a bunch of different companies, but I just ended up with Landmark, and that was a bad choice.
Melissa Swanson and her young son moved from Georgia to South Carolina. She says she hired Landmark movers to transport her belongings from the Peach State to the Palmetto State. That was 2 months ago.
They were supposed to come, I believe, between the hours of 10 and 1. They didn't show up till about 9:30 at night.
Melissa says the movers picked up her items from her Georgia home, but never brought them to South Carolina. Where do you think your things are right now?
I mean, right now, I don't know. But there was such miscommunication. I thought when they left my house late that night, I thought they were going to drive the 3 hours, because it was only 3 hours away to my new house. But they're like, oh no, we're not going to come until tomorrow.
But tomorrow came and went. Melissa says her stuff and her son's belongings never arrived.
He had cars and trucks and planes, and everything is just gone. And all his clothes, all my clothes, and he's got to go to school. So we had to buy a whole bunch of new clothes for him. Can't keep wearing the same thing every day.
Live 5 Investigates first told you about the company earlier this month after we were contacted by a Somerville woman named Julie Sanchez. She told us that she paid Landmark more than $6,000 to move her stuff to California, but it never arrived. Julie has since been in touch with the FBI. A special agent from the Bureau told her over email that there is a federal investigation involving Landmark. He wrote that they are overwhelmed by the number of victims and that they are doing everything they can to bring those responsible to justice.
My gosh, put them out of business. This is federal offenses. They're crossing state lines. Why aren't these guys arrested?
They had 2 office addresses, one from Sarasota, Florida, and one from Georgia.
Diana La Perena is a dentist in Puerto Rico. She says she also hired Landmark to help her son get his belongings from Alabama to Michigan, but his stuff never arrived.
They have the money, they have our stuff, and we can't get, a hold of them.
The Better Business Bureau says they haven't been able to reach Landmark either, and they gave them an F rating.
In this particular case of Landmark Movers in that file, this company had 9 complaints recently filed that they did not respond or answer the complaints when we sent them from the Better Business Bureau.
So what can you do to try to avoid problems when you are hiring movers? Well, the BBB created this report last year. It's called Know Your Mover. In it, the group recommends that before you hire a moving company, don't just search online. Get estimates from 3 moving companies and try to do that in person before you give them any money. Be careful if movers try to have you pay a lot of money up front, and make sure to get a cost estimate based on the weight of your items. The Know Your Mover report also mentions that the federal agency that regulates moving companies might need more resources and enforcement authority to prevent issues with movers from continuing to happen.
Anytime there's a large volume of complaints in the industry, we always like to see agencies step up their game in enforcing regulations and laws or taking action against bad actors in that industry.
Meanwhile, Melissa Swanson says that for her and her son, this situation with Landmark has all been a nightmare.
Yeah, it's horrible for me, in-laws, a bunch of stuff, but that's a kid, innocent kid.
Summer Huechtker, Live 5 News.
You're looking to hire a moving company. You can find all of the Better Business Bureau's recommendations on what you need to know on our website, live5news.com.
Jennifer Holmes lost her son Genesis 7 years ago when he drowned in a pond in Hollywood.
If Genesis Holmes if he had any knowledge at all, I truly believe that Genesis would have survived in that pond on May 5th.
Now she's made it her mission to make sure that kids and adults in her community know how to swim. Through the Charleston County Parks Foundation, the Genesis Project is offering free swim lesson scholarships here at the Genesis Pool this summer. Now this actually started last summer on a much smaller scale because of the pandemic, and now for the first time they'll be able to offer scholarships for swim lessons to people of any age and of any ability.
Genesis didn't have that chance. And so that's why I am here. I believe God is using me to get the word out to many walks of life, so they can have the opportunity to learn how to swim.
Holmes says about 80 people have already received scholarships for swim lessons this summer.
So we're trying to really change the culture here in places that might not have community pools, which is pretty abundant throughout the Low Country. There's not a lot of public pools that people can swim.
Rose Brock says they hope to offer at least 50 more scholarships this summer. And while the Genesis Project Committee has helped many people in the area learn to swim, Holmes says she still hears from folks in the area who tell her they never learned how to swim.
We got so much work to do, so much. So there's no quitting in me.
To receive a scholarship or to donate to the fund, you can apply online or ask a staff member at the West County Aquatic Center. In Hollywood, Summer Huechtker, Live 5 News.